For several generations, people suffering with mental health issues have been forced to leave their sometimes perilous mental health disorders in the hands of psychotherapy, as well as a class of drugs known as Selective Serotonin Reuptake Inhibitors, also known as SSRIs, which are known to act as antidepressants. As we might know, especially those who rely on psychotherapy and antidepressants, these techniques have been found wanting, as they have not only failed the people who are in need of the solutions, but these psychoanalysts and their SSRI purport to have. In quite a few cases, antidepressants have been known to exacerbate the symptoms mental health patients tend to suffer from. It becomes even more devastating to the point of annoyance when you learn that there might have been a solution all along. Let's learn why these communities are pushing so hard for psychedelics to start the mental health revolution, and if they might be able to replace the antidepressant drugs that are pushed by pharmaceutical companies. In recent times, it's been revealed that psychedelics may have been able to give these suffering people the relief they desire. However, due to the misconception of their dangers, which was born as a result of their association with the American counterculture of the 1960s, psychedelics like LSD, psilocybin, and DMT were all made illegal in the US, followed by many other countries in the world. Now, however, the medical and psychological communities have pushed to reintroduce these psychedelic drugs in several variations to people who need these solutions. As mentioned earlier, people suffering from mental issues ranging from anxiety, depression, and OCD to perhaps more serious mental health problems like schizophrenia and perhaps bipolar disorder have been relying on therapeutic sessions with skilled psychotherapists and a class of antidepressant drugs known as SSRI. You might know of them as drugs like Prozac, Zoloft, and Paxil. Despite contributing to the boom of several giant pharmaceutical companies, psychotherapy and these drugs seem to have fallen short. They only seem to treat the symptoms of mental health issues and not necessarily the root cause, and more often than not, they also have a series of varying side effects on the users that could result in adverse reactions like dry mouth, diarrhea, dizziness, lethargy, sexual dysfunction, and even contemplations of taking one's life, not to mention the fact that these drugs are also known to be addictive to the user, who also experience even more problems when they try to wean themselves off of the drugs. As you can imagine, this isn't what the people want. For too long, people have been forced to endure through life with these mental disorders, putting stress on themselves and those around them. Yet no real solution ever seemed to be in sight, despite the fact that these medications have enriched several global pharmaceutical companies. It's especially painful to imagine that the solution may have been hidden in plain sight all along. Evidence spreading across the millennia shows that several cultures like the Greeks in Europe, along with the several indigenous tribes spread out across Africa, North and South America, were able to recognize certain psychedelic plants which had the same qualities found in psychedelics like LSD, psilocybin, DMT, or MDMA. These plants were not only used for their healing qualities, they were also known to be used for spiritual ceremonies that are known to not only aid in communicating with the spirits, but also lift moods and reduce symptoms of mental disorder. For example, it's been revealed that a plant-based psychedelic called ayahuasca was used for over a millennia by the indigenous people living in the Amazon basin, and this is not the only case. Unfortunately, research on the healing properties of plants like ayahuasca was stifled by the American government, following the misconception that psychedelics like LSD, the psychedelic drug that was created by the brilliant Swiss chemist Albert Hofmann, will be used to destroy the socio-political status quo of the nation. Thanks to this and the efforts of Timothy Leary, the Harvard psychiatrist who facilitated the association with psychedelics to the counterculture of the 1960s, the drugs were made illegal by the Nixon administration, while lies about how dangerous they were to one's mental health were propagated. As such, research into potential qualities of psychedelics suffered greatly. Nonetheless, people like Rick Doblin, the founder of the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, also known as MAPS, continued studying the psychedelic drugs underground, steadfastly working to learn how these drugs worked and what they can do for the people who need them. After almost 40 years, although they are still not exactly sure how these drugs work, it was discovered that psychoactive drugs like LSD, MDMA, or psilocybin seek out a subset of serotonin receptors like the 5-HT2A receptor. This 5-HT2A receptor is known as a G protein coupled receptor, which can be found all through an individual's central nervous system. especially around the region of the brain that is required for one's learning and cognitive abilities. These psychoactive drugs act as antagonists to these receptors. When these psychedelics are introduced to the brain, it appears that several parts of the brain which don't communicate with one another on a normal basis begin to interact with each other, thereby creating the experiences one may go through when they take the drugs. However, in order to get the best out of such trips, it's been suggested that the drug should be used in similar manners to the ancient rituals of the Amazon tribes when they took ayahuasca. These practices are still being carried out till this day, and it's believed that this may be best done with an attendant similar to the shamans who will guide you through the trip. It has been revealed that more often than not during this process, people actually overcome their mental disorders such as depression and anxiety after experiencing spiritual and mystical revelations. Amazingly, this has also proven to rid people of their need for the antidepressants that never really solve the main issues behind their mental illnesses. Furthermore, it has also been revealed that these drugs may also have anti-inflammatory effects on people who suffer from more physical issues like asthma and migraines. This could occur when people take these drugs or some element similar to them in microdoses. The efficacy rates of the application of these drugs are high enough to shake up the multi-billion-dollar pharmaceutical industry and the distribution of their antidepressants. However, political sway is starting to swing in favor of these psychedelics, as these studies are becoming more and more recognized for the results they produce. Just last year, a bill was passed in Oregon to authorize the legal use of psilocybin, a drug that has been known to have highly positive effects on the depression of people who took only one dose. However, this is only under the supervision of a licensed provider, and rightly so. As such, investors as well as some past naysayers are turning their attention and their backing towards psychedelics like LSD and psilocybin. Although the drug isn't as addictive as antidepressants, it's believed that big pharmaceutical companies will be keen to back the distribution of the drugs, as there is a worldwide market for those who will pay for the benefits these psychedelics have to offer. However, it is still appreciated that a required rewiring of society needs to take place for this model to remain sustainable, as human capital, i.e. the lives of those who need the drugs as opposed to monetary capital, must be made the priority when big pharmas get involved in this mental health revolution. Only then does everybody benefit. After all, if people are too preoccupied by their mental illnesses to work, no one would have been able to afford anything, let alone the drugs that seem to make them worse, i.e. antidepressants. Hopefully, sense will prevail, thereby allowing this mental health revolution to prevail.